Every year, hundreds of thousands of people move to New York City in pursuit of happiness, in pursuit of a dream, in pursuit of something different. Between 2021 and 2022, over 300,000 people moving to New York. Right now, someone's getting off the plane, very happy, full of hopes and dreams as they start their new life in New York City. So in today's video, I'll share the safest and most affordable neighborhoods to live in New York City. If you're moving to New York City and you're not familiar with the city and the five boroughs, then this video is for you. I wish that someone had broken down the city for me and explained everything and where I should be living, because when I first moved to New York, I lived in Brooklyn in a sketchy neighborhood. I lived so far away from the train, and my friend back then, she moved before me, and she moved into a different sketchy neighborhood and her apartment was broken into. If you're not familiar with New York City, not to be confused with New York State, New York City is comprised of 5 boroughs. Think of the boroughs as 5 small cities, and together they make New York City. And those 5 boroughs are Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. New Jersey, Jersey City tries to include themselves into New York City, but they're part of Jersey. They're not part of New York City. Now that I've been living here for 17 years, oh my God, yes, 17 years, for the longest, I thought, I was like, I only been in New York for 12 years, 14 years. And when I was working on this video, I did the math and I've been here for 17 years. Time runs differently in New York City because it did not feel like 17 years. But because I've lived here for so long, I am much more familiar with the 5 boroughs. I've lived in about 10 different apartments, 5 different neighborhoods throughout the boroughs, except for Queens, but I know people that have lived in Queens. So I am much more comfortable now with the city, and I feel like I know the city well enough to pick the best neighborhoods to live in. So if you are moving to New York City, I suggest that you first sublet a room and don't sign a lease your first month here. Or you can get like a month-to-month rental somewhere so you can fill the city out before you commit to signing a lease. I am not including Staten Island in this video because I wouldn't live in Staten Island. And I feel like anyone moving to New York City wants to be closer to the city. And when I say the city, I mean Manhattan. Anyone that lives outside of Manhattan always refers to Manhattan as the city. Like, oh, I have to go to the city. They mean Manhattan. So throughout the video, I'll be saying the city a lot, and I mean Manhattan. So if you're moving to New York City, you want to be closer to the city, which is where everything is at. Like if you're an artist or an actor, dancer, auditions are going to be in Manhattan. Everything's going to be in Manhattan. All the jobs, majority of the jobs, the good jobs are in Manhattan. So I wouldn't live in Staten Island because it's just so far and you need to travel using the ferry. And that just seems like a lot of work and it just takes forever. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So I'm sorry, Staten Island, nothing personal, but I wouldn't live there and I wouldn't recommend for anyone moving here to go there. So for this video, I'll break it down by borough. And for each borough, I'll talk about the crime rate using neighborhoodscouts.com, which is a website that collects analytics for every neighborhood in the United States. And using the New York City train map, I'll tell you where I would move to if I were to be moving to New York City right now, based on my knowledge of the city and the train system. And as far as the crime rate goes, there's crime everywhere in New York City. Yes, there are some places that there's less crime than others, but crime still happens. And you just have to be vigilant and be aware of your surroundings and just mind your business and you'll be fine. So let's begin with what everyone here in New York refers to the city, Manhattan. Now, if you can afford to live below 125th Street, then you don't need this video. I mean, you can keep watching, but if you can afford to live in like the West Village and you can afford to pay $4,000 a month for an apartment, you're good. Go live your rich life in the city. You're fine. I'm still going to tell you the safest areas to live in Manhattan based on the data collected by neighborhoodscouts.com. And I'll tell you where I will move to in Manhattan if I were to be moving here right now. And I'll tell you where I would live if I was rich and could afford to live below 125th Street. Okay, so let's go into my computer. Okay, so this is the neighbor. We'll start with Manhattan. This is neighborhoodscouts.com, and I'll leave the link in the description so you can do your own research. They have data collected for every neighborhood in the United States. And you can look at like the demographic, the real estate. We're gonna focus on the crime, but if you have like children and you're moving to the city, you can look at like the best schools in the neighborhoods, and there's more stuff to it. But we're gonna stay with crime. So just to explain where's the explanation? It was okay. So the light, I guess this is purple, blue. The lightest, that's the safest. The darkest is the most dangerous. But this is all according to the crime reported in those areas. Oh, I'm also going to use Street Easy. Oh my God, I'm sorry if you keep hearing those horns outside. I don't know what's going on. There is a fair by a street fair by my neighborhood, so I don't know what's happening. So Manhattan has about 52 neighborhoods to choose from. According to neighborhoodscouts.com, the safest is Steinway, which is by the east side, closer to the Bronx. There's the FDR Drive, this area. This is all like really high-rise, expensive apartments. Oh, no, this is, where's that? Yeah, the east side, Roosevelt Island. I had a friend who lived in Roosevelt Island and she liked it very much. I personally wouldn't live there because it's really like secluded and separated from Manhattan. So I don't know. But she had a really nice apartment when she lived there and she liked it a lot. So this is all on the east side. Roosevelt Island West, Williamsburg. Oh, the Williamsburg Bridge, which is in the lower east side of Manhattan. So this is the areas where I would move to. So West 150. Oh my God, I can't even speak. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, so West 115 in Amsterdam. I will live around there if I was rich. The 70s in Amsterdam, and Washington Heights, which is where I will live if I were to move to the city right now. I will try to get an apartment in Washington Heights. And then the east side. So we're gonna focus. So if I were to be moving to New York City right now, these are the areas that I'll feel comfortable living in and that are really affordable. You can get so much space up here in Manhattan, and it's so much cheaper than downtown Manhattan. So I will live in this area, which you can see is some of the safest area, and Washington Heights, which is all the way up here around the 80s, around 180 4th Washington Ave, like between 170 and 180 on the west side. I would live down there. This area, this is still Washington Heights. This is like, let me get closer. Okay, I used to live in this area. My last apartment was on 149th, and I really liked it. It does say that it's like in the middle here. But I didn't mind that area and this area, all of this area right here. This is some of the safest in this area. There's also City College is on 135th Street. So there's also a police precinct on 145th. And there's also a lot of young people that live in that area because of City College. And there's a lot of artists that, when they move to the city, they move to that area. So it's really young and hip. There's a lot of really fun restaurants, cool restaurants and stuff to do, and coffee shops. So I love this area. I've lived in like 5 different apartments. No, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to 5. No, 5 different apartments within 135th and 155. I've lived in 5 different apartments there. So let's look at the map. So this is the New York City subway map. You can find this online. Based on the map in Manhattan, I'll tell you that these lines are the best lines in Manhattan, in my opinion. The D train is always express, which means it skips a bunch of stations so you get home quicker. I've never had an issue with any of these trains. Sometimes the A, I would like to live below 168, between 168th Street and 135. That's like my ideal area to live in. But it's like going up now. It's not really going up because when I was looking for an apartment, I saw a studio. It's like a junior studio, a junior one bedroom, and it was $1,300. And I kept emailing the broker, and no one got back to me. So I saw a few studios for like $1,400, between $1,200 and $1,400 in that area, but the brokers, the real estate people are just so flaky. Anyways, so if I were to be moving, oh my God, I'm just going on a tangent. If I were to be moving to Manhattan right now, I would ideally find a studio, or if I needed a roommate, I'll find somewhere that lives between 168 and 135. Ideally between, in this area on 145th, because you have, in this corner right here, you have 4 different train lines. You have the A, B, C, D, which is perfect because you have, if you like work late, you have 4 lines to choose from. If one is not working, you can just hop on the other one. I used to live with the one, which was not bad. Sometimes I would walk over to 145th and St. Nicholas. But these train lines are the best. Up here, this is some of the safest area. Let's see. Yeah, like the safest area is up here because it's so far up. No one's gonna go there. But this is Inwood, and this is like Washington Heights, the end of Washington. And the train line over there is the A and the one. The only thing up here is that sometimes over the weekend, the MTA, which is the Metropolitan Transit Metropolitan Transit Authority, they run the whole train system. They decide that they want to do some work over the weekend, and then the train stops at 168, and you have to take a shuttle, and that's just too much work. It's not a lot of work, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to wait for the shuttle. So that's why I would be like iffy about living all the way up here. Even though up here, the apartments are huge. My friend used to live in Dykeman on like 207, and his apartment was, he had roommates, but his room was enormous. But he moved out. But if I were to be moving to Manhattan, again, look between 168th, Washington Heights, and 135th, which is City College on this side. This side, I don't really like living on this side. It's too crowded. Not too crowded, but I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable going that way. And I don't like these train lines. They're always so crowded. I don't like this. Let me see, what is the crime rate on this side? See? Oh, this is 189. Let me go down. 168. What is this? 150. Oh, see the darkest side. Part of the, it's closer to the Bronx, so it's more. There's more crime reported on that area of Manhattan. Next, we're gonna go to the Bronx. We're gonna go over to the Bronx, which has about 51 neighborhoods. Let's go to crime rates. The safest neighborhood in the Bronx is Administration Hill College Road, which doesn't, where is this? Hunts Point down here, which this area is closer to Manhattan. These areas right here, all of this is just so far. I wouldn't live up here. And I know it's like some of the safest area, but it's safe because it's so far away. People won't go there to rob anyone. But this is just too far for me. I think when I was applying for this apartment, I had to go somewhere around here to interview with management. And it just took me forever, like an hour and a half to get there on the train. So all these areas are just too far. Let me see. Bronx, this is too far. Bronx, Class Point Northwest, Eden, East Far City Island. Look, this is in a whole nother country. A whole nother. It takes, oh my God, why is the... One thing that you should get used to if you're moving to New York City is all the sirens. They're everywhere. They don't stop. It's like every day, every hour, every minute. Every time I try to record something, they just get louder and louder and louder. Okay, so this side of the Bronx is where the most crime is reported, as you can see by the dark blue. And there are some that are light blue, which there's less crime reported. So if I were to be moving to New York City right now and I had to live in the Bronx, I would try to live around this area, around Fordham University. This is a really nice area between Fordham University, the Bronx Zoo. It's all near each other. That's a really nice area. So I will try to live around there. And I feel like they have really nice apartment up there. I would try to live around here, which is 510 Deauville. I don't think I said that right. Riverdale is really far. I wouldn't like to live in Riverdale because this area, you have to get off the train, take a bus. I'd rather just get off the train and go home. So I'll live around this area right here, which is closer to Inwood. I actually tried to see a few apartments in this area, and there were studio apartments there for around $1,500, $1,400. University Heights, I will live around that area too. Norwood, where's Norwood? I think it's up here. It's after Kingsbridge, it's around here. Yeah, this is around the Yankee Stadium right here. I wouldn't like to live around there because there's a lot of petty crime because of the Yankee Stadium. There's so many people that go there all the time. But also, it's so crowded. Every day there's a game. That area is packed with people because the Yankee Stadium is right here. Right here, see? The Yankee Stadium. That's the stadium. It's really small. Let me zoom in. Where is it? I just saw it. Anyways. I actually looked when I was looking for an apartment. Oh, right there. When I was looking for an apartment, I looked at a one bedroom for $1,500 by the Yankee Stadium. But even like going there, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about living here and taking the subway late at night, going to this apartment because it was a long walk from the subway. So let's look at the subway. Now, if I had to live in the Bronx, I will live, like I said, on this area off the B and the D train. Not Tremont, but 167 Highbridge. I will live around here. The Yankee Stadium, I wouldn't feel comfortable living around here because it's just too crowded, too many people. I looked at an apartment on 167 and that was a nice area. The apartment was actually really nice. I looked at the apartment by the Joker steps. Okay, let's use the map as well. So I will live around the Bronx Zoo, and the Botanical Garden and Fordham University. This is a really nice area and I will live around there. The Yankee Stadium, I said I wouldn't live around there. Where are the Joker steps? Let me see. Because I know they're around here. I think it's, these are the Joker steps. I looked at an apartment around this area and this area was really quiet. It was nice. The apartment that I saw was really nice, but they were trying to charge me a $600 fee, just an application fee, which I wouldn't get back. And they were also charging me $150 to check my credit score, which is crazy because when I applied for this apartment, I only paid $20. So I was like, no thanks. So this area is, I will live around here. It's a nice and quiet area. Okay, let's go back to the subway. And you're off the 4 train and you can walk to the D, which is a good train. All this area right here, not for me. I don't like the 6 train, it's too slow. The 5, same thing, and the 2, this is just, I don't know why people live all the way up here. I guess if you grew up in New York in the Bronx, and you live in that area and that's where you grew up, then fine. But it just takes so long on the train to get from wherever here down here to the city, where that's where you need to be, or you need to go for work auditions or whatnot. So to recap, if I were to be moving here to New York City in the Bronx, I will live by around this area, by the Bronx Zoo, Fordham University, the Botanical Garden. I would also live around 167 on this side, High Bridge Northeast, or I would move up here, Kingsbridge Heights. It's nice. There's Lehman College is around here. So this area around here, Kingsbridge, and there's Norwood, where's Norwood? Oh, and I will also live around here. Okay, so let's move on. So next we're gonna move on to Brooklyn, which Brooklyn has about 65 neighborhoods. So Brooklyn, the safest neighborhood in Brooklyn is Dikers Heights, which is all the way down here. Then Bay Ridge, Bay 20th Street and Bath Avenue, this is Brighton Beach, Bath Beach. This is by the beach. So all the safest areas are down here, and this is really far. It is, all the safest areas are where people don't go because it's so far. But this is really far, Manhattan Beach. This is Manhattan Beach, that's by the airport. I would not live down there. So if your concern is safety and you don't care how far you live, then these are the areas that you should look into. Bay Ridge actually is a really nice area, and I will live in Bay Ridge. This area right here, see, it's a light blue safest. The only thing with Bay Ridge is that their trains is this, you have one train, the R right here and the N, and this train is really slow on the weekends. I always think of that, weekends. If you have to travel on the weekends, these trains slow down and they take forever. So that is my only concern when moving to Bay Ridge. But I will live, if I had to live in Brooklyn and I was moving to New York City today, I would first try to see an apartment by, where's the park? By Prospect Park. So this area right here, this is a really nice area. It is a little pricey. So this is not the most affordable neighborhood. So let's just focus on affordable. In an ideal world, if I was rich, I would live by Prospect Park because it's really nice. I have friends who live there. This area is really crowded. This whole side right here is expensive. So affordability, for affordability, I would live in Bed-Stuy, but I will live on this side of Bed-Stuy. I used to live off this stop in Halsey. So I used to live on this area right here. So this is the borderline between Bushwick and Bed-Stuy. I will live in this area. This is a really nice area. And even though it's part of Bed-Stuy, it's not bad. It's safe. I used to walk home from the train at like 3 and 4 in the morning. Never had an issue. Bushwick is a really nice area. It's really young and hip. A lot of young professionals move to Bushwick. It's affordable. So I would live, or I would look at apartments in Bushwick. This side of Bed-Stuy right here. Where else would I live? I used to work in East New York. Don't move there. It's too far. It's far and there's stuff, other stuff. Crown Heights. Oh, my friend, that's where my friend moved to when we first moved to here. She moved before me, and she moved to Crown Heights. Someone broke into her apartment and stole her TV and I don't know what else. She was at work. What else? And then where else would I live? And I will try to. Bay Ridge is really nice. I've looked at an apartment at a 1-bedroom in Bay Ridge for $1,500, but the only thing about it was that it was a 4th floor walk up. There was no elevator, which was annoying. But I ended up not applying for it because it took me a while to get there because of the train, and I didn't want to live so far away from the train from work or the city, because just on a regular day it took me like an hour and a half. It was this stop right here. So imagine over the weekend when the train slowed down. So I'm like on the fence on this side. My friend used to live in Bensonhurst, which is another safe area, but it's far. So I will try to, the J train is actually a really good train. It's always running. The 3 years that I live in this area, I never had an issue with the J. But yeah, this will be my area by here, like Myrtle Avenue, Kosciuszko. And I used to live in, before moving to Bed-Stuy a long time ago. I used to have a studio by the Kosciuszko stop, and it was $1,000 for the studio. But then I had to move out because it was like a shady situation. But yes, this area and Bushwick. I think Housley is the furthest I would go. I used to work when I worked in East New York. I got off on Norwood, which was really far. But yes, let's move on to. And again, if you are rich and you don't care about saving money, then this area. This is all really nice. They have really nice high-rise apartments there. Carroll Gardens is really nice. It's kind of like, it's sort of residential, but it's really like upscale residential, and it's a lot of rich people live here. So Carroll Gardens is really nice if you don't care about saving money. And the last borough that I will tell you about is Queens, New York. We're gonna go by crime. Now, I've never lived in Queens, but I've had friends who lived in Queens. And based on what they tell me and what I know of the train system, I'll tell you where I would move to if I were going to Queens. But again, the safest areas, according to neighborhoodscouts.com, Queens Roy Wilkins Park, far, wouldn't live there. Utopia Parkway, far. This 74th Street, Pleasant View Street. This area, Middle Village, actually, I would live there. This area. Well, Middle Village is actually not the safest, but next to it. So I will look in this area. I would also look by this area right here. All of this is really far. I know this is the safest, but it's just so far. I would not live down here because it takes forever. I used to work for this agency, and I used to have to go see people in Queens, and I will have to get off around here, the last stop on the train, and then take a bus. It was just too much. I hated it so much. But if I were to be, the safest areas in Queens are here: Roy Wilkins Park, Utopia Parkway, 74th Street, Pleasant View Street. I will live around here. No, too far. Bell Harbor, I don't even see it. It's like somewhere down there. If I were to live in Queens right now, if I was moving to the city, I will live in Astoria. This area of Astoria is really nice. It's somewhat residential, but just like Bushwick, a lot of young professionals move to Astoria. So there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars, a lot of coffee shops, and it's a really quiet area. in the neighborhood, let's look here. Astoria, this area, Crescent Street, 23rd, this safe areas. These are safe areas. And up here is not as safe as down here, according to this website. But I wouldn't mind, knowing what I know now, to live in this area right here. Long Island City is pricey. I say Astoria is in between affordable and expensive. I say that it's like average. I don't know what average is to you where you live, but I feel like you can get a studio apartment in Astoria for $1,600. I actually did look, well, no, I messaged a broker when I was looking for apartments for a studio for $1,600 in this area. I will also live in Jackson Heights. I had a friend who lived in Jackson Heights and she really liked it. Let's see, neighborhood scouts. So it's around this area. Where is it? Yeah. It's around this area, which is some of the safest area. And I would also live... Flushing is just really far. Flushing is nice. It's another residential area, but it's just really far from me. I wouldn't live there. So in Queens, I would live in Astoria or Jackson Heights, or I would try to live near these train lines, the M and the R, because you can transfer to an express train from the M, and the R takes you all the way down to Midtown Manhattan. So these are the areas where I will live in Queens. Oh, in Queens, I don't know if I said it, but Queens has 76 neighborhoods to choose from. There's a lot of neighborhoods in Queens. I will leave the link to the neighborhoodscouts.com in case you want to do your own research, so you can go on there. I'll also leave the link to the subway map on the description so you can familiarize yourself with the train system. And if you enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you, please subscribe to the channel. I post videos every week and I would love to have you join my growing community. And that is the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world. And if you're moving to New York City, I hope New York City treats you well and you have a great life here. Until my next video, bye. Or New York City, I suggest that you sublet a room first and don't sign up. And I feel like I know the boroughs well enough. Oh my God, why is it so loud over there? And I'll also use the New York City, the MTA train. Oh my God, shut up. And, oh my goodness, lady.